Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. As a homeowner here in Florida, I know it can be overwhelming to navigate the number of home improvement and repair programs available to us, but that's exactly what we're going to tackle today.
Oh, absolutely. And the crazy thing is, there are over 211 programs in Florida. It can definitely make your head spin.
It really can. Thankfully, we found a fantastic resource to help us break it all down, my financial programs. They've really simplified things. I mean, did you know that some homeowners in Miami can potentially get up to $70,000 for exterior repairs through one of these programs?
Yeah, that's one of the most surprising things I found when I was researching all of this. A lot of people think these programs are just through the federal government, but it's so much broader than that.
So who else is behind all of these programs?
Well, besides federal programs,
Yeah.
often through HUD, there are state agencies, rural programs. A lot of those are backed by the USDA. You've also got community organizations. And then, of course, your local county or city might even have programs.
Wow. So it's not just one giant maze to navigate. There are all these different avenues, but I'm sure there are some common threads. What are the main things that usually determine who's eligible for these programs?
Well, like you might expect, funding is limited. So even though any Florida homeowner might technically be eligible for something, certain groups often get prioritized.
I'd imagine those are the folks who need the most help. Who are we talking about?
Definitely seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, and of course, homeowners with low incomes.
That makes sense. So if you fall into one of those categories, definitely pay close attention. But it's still probably worth looking into, even if you don't, right?
Oh, absolutely. Always worth checking. And here's a tip I learned. A lot of these programs operate on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you think you might qualify, get that application in early.
Great advice. The early bird gets the new roof. But I know a lot of people are probably wondering about income requirements, like where is the cutoff? What if you're thinking, well, I make decent money, I probably don't need to bother.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little tricky. With city and county programs, it can really vary. A lot of times it's tied to the median income of the area. So you could be living in a more affluent area, making what some people would consider a decent living and still be eligible.
That is tricky. So it really is worth checking out what your city or county offers, even if you're not sure if you meet the income requirements.
Exactly. Never assume you're ineligible. Each program has its own specific rules.
Okay, so we've got a handle on who's running these programs and who might be eligible. Now let's get to the exciting part, the repairs themselves. What kind of help are we talking about? What kind of projects do these programs usually cover?
Well, I was really relieved to find that most of these programs are really broad. They're not limited to just one specific type of repair.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking everything from, leaky windows to major issues like asbestos or lead removal.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought about asbestos and lead. That's a big one, especially in older homes. It's great that there's help for dealing with those kinds of hazards.
Oh, definitely. And these programs can help with big projects too, like a complete electrical and plumbing upgrade, replacing your HVAC system, even things like sewer and water line repairs.
It's amazing how comprehensive some of these programs are. But with over 211 programs out there, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed just thinking about sorting through all of them. How on earth do you navigate all of that?
I know, right? It's a lot to take in. That's where my financial programs really comes in handy. They've done a lot of that work for you. They've categorized all the programs based on both your income level and your location, whether you're in a rural area or a city or suburb.
So it's kind of like you go on the website and it's like, okay, are you in a rural area? Yes or no? And then, okay, what's your income level? And then boom, you've got a list of programs that could work for you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You're narrowing things down right away. Now, obviously, we can't go through all 211 programs here, but let's highlight a few of the key takeaways from this source. One that really stood out to me was the My Safe Florida Home program.
Okay, tell me about it. I'm intrigued.
So they offer up to $10,000, which is a lot, for projects that'll make your home more resistant to storm damage.
10,000 for stormproofing. That's fantastic. Especially living in Florida. Is that program still running?
Unfortunately, no. The initial funding ran out at the beginning of this year,
Oh,
but there's still hope. They actually encourage homeowners to check back to their website regularly for updates. There's a chance they'll get more funding, and when they do, it'll be first come, first served. So it's good to be prepared.
okay, so fingers crossed. What other programs stood out to you?
Well, there's the Florida Low-Income Emergency Home Repairs Program, and that one's really focused on helping people with repairs that affect their safety and health, like a leaking roof or a broken heating system in the middle of winter.
Oh, so if it's an emergency, that's the one to check out. Okay, got it. What else?
Then you've got the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. They do various loans and grants. And of course, for those in rural areas, there's the USDA Rural Development Program.
Right. So those are more on the larger government agency side of things. But you mentioned community and nonprofit organizations too. What are some of those?
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize how much help these organizations provide. Like Habitat for Humanity. A lot of people think they just build homes, but in many areas, they actually offer repair assistance too. And then there are community action agencies. They're more local, but they offer so many different services, including home repairs.
It's really incredible to see all the different ways people are working to support homeowners. But I'm guessing things get even more specific when you start looking at the local level, at individual cities and counties.
You're right. A lot of counties and cities have their own dedicated programs. A lot of times they're funded by federal initiatives, like you might have heard of the Community Development Block Grant or CDBG.
CDBG.
Yep. And then there's the Home Investment Partnerships Program.
Got it. Home. I'll have to keep those in mind.
Yeah, those acronyms pop up a lot. It's definitely worth checking to see what programs your city or county offers through those initiatives.
Wow, we've already covered so much. This is a lot to take in, but I just want to remind everyone this is all about making things less overwhelming, not more overwhelming.
Exactly. We just want to help you find the right resources for you.
Good.
So are you ready to get into some more specific examples of local programs?
Oh, I am so ready. Hit me with it. Okay, so we've gotten the big picture, but I'm ready for specifics. What are some of these intriguing local programs that our listeners should know about?
Well, I was really impressed by one in Tallahassee. It's called the Home Accessibility Program,
Okay,
and it's specifically for people with disabilities to, help them make their homes more accessible.
that's great. What kind of modifications are we talking about?
Well, it covers a lot of things like installing ramps, widening doorways. They even help adapt bathrooms and kitchens.
Oh, wow. So they really cover a wide range of needs.
Yeah. The goal is really to help people with mobility challenges live more comfortably and independently.
I hadn't even thought about how helpful these programs could be for, say, someone who uses a wheelchair or has trouble with stairs.
Right. It can make a huge difference. And Tallahassee isn't the only one doing this. Sarasota County has a program called the Barrier Removal Program.
Okay, what's special about that one?
So it offers a combination of a grant and a forgivable loan for accessibility modifications up to $15,000.
Wait, a forgivable loan. What exactly does that mean?
So the first $3,000 is a grant, and then the rest of the loan can actually be completely forgiven over time as long as you continue living in the home.
That's incredible. So you could potentially get thousands of dollars and not have to pay any of it back.
Exactly. It's a fantastic way to help people afford these really important changes.
It really is. But what about those homeowners who aren't necessarily focused on accessibility? What if they're just struggling with general repairs and need some assistance?
There are definitely programs for that too. The city of Miami has the Homeownership Preservation Program, they call it HPP, and it can provide up to $70,000 in assistance.
$70,000.
Yeah. Primarily for exterior repairs, though. Things like roofs, windows, doors.
Oh, I bet hurricane shutters are a big one there.
Absolutely. Especially in Miami. Which brings me to a good point. These programs are really designed with the unique needs of each community in mind.
Mm.
What's helpful in Miami might not be as important somewhere else.
So it really is about finding the program that's the right fit for your specific situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of our listeners are probably thinking, this all sounds a little too good to be true. So what's the catch?
I was just going to ask that. Spill the beans.
Well, there's always paperwork. You have to gather documentation, fill out those applications, there might even be interviews. But, a little bit of effort up front could end up saving you thousands of dollars in the long run.
That's a great point. Plus, remember, a lot of these programs operate on a first-come, first-served basis. So the sooner you get that application in, the better your chances are.
Definitely. And if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, the My Financial Programs website actually has a really helpful FAQ section. They even explain things like what a grant is versus a forgivable loan versus a deferred payment loan. All those terms, it can be a bit confusing.
Oh, that's good to know. I get those mixed up all the time. So we've covered types of programs who might qualify, some cool local examples, even some tips for applying. What's the big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Don't be intimidated. There really is help out there. Don't let the sheer number of programs discourage you because there are resources available to make your home safer, more comfortable, and more affordable.
I love that. It's about empowering homeowners. So where should our listeners go from here? What's the next step?
Well, I definitely recommend checking out myfinancialprograms.com. It's the resource we've been using for this deep dive, and it's a great place to start your research.
It sounds like a one-stop shop for all your Florida home improvement program needs.
Pretty much. You can find detailed descriptions of the programs, eligibility requirements, even links to application forms.
Fantastic. And don't worry, we'll include the link in the show notes so you don't have to scramble to write it down. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to think about.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. I love it. What is it?
So, we've seen all these amazing programs, but with so many options and the paperwork involved, the real question is, what's a first step you're going to take to find the perfect fit for your needs?
That's a great question. And to help answer that, I'd say grab a pen and paper or open up your notes app on your phone.
Yeah, get those notes ready.
Think about what your biggest needs are as a homeowner. What are those top priorities? Is it your roof? Maybe your plumbing needs an update. Are you worried about hurricanes? Do you need to make your home more accessible for someone? Whatever it is, just jot it down.
I love that. Get it all out there, and then you can start prioritizing what's most important.
Exactly. And once you have that list, head over to the My Financial Programs website. We'll have that link in the show notes so you can find it easily.
They've made it super easy to navigate. You can filter the program so you're not wading through everything. You can look by location, by income, even by the specific type of repair you need.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Just remember, finding the right program might take a little time. You might have to do some digging, but it's so worth it.
It really is. Think of all the money you could save.
And the peace of mind, too. Knowing your home is safe and comfortable.
Right. It's an investment in your home and your family. So to all our listeners out there in Florida, don't wait. Check out these amazing resources.
There's help out there, and you deserve to have a home you love.
I love that. Turn those what-ifs into we-did-its. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into Florida home improvement programs.
And remember, the more you know about these resources, the better decisions you can make about your home.
So stay curious and keep diving deep. We'll see you next time.